Hey, and welcome to the webinar today, Opportunity in Crisis, Building Firm Loyalty. So I have with me Ty Hendrickson of the Sales Seed. Hello, Ty.
Hi, good afternoon.
So for me, you can probably see my curtains are still closed. I'm all the way down in the South Island of New Zealand where it's below freezing right now, hence my big woolly jumper. But a little bit warmer where you are in Kentucky, is it, Ty?
Yeah, we're hitting the mid 80s, so I'm not jealous of your situation at all.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, it'd be really cool if you guys could let us know where you're dialing in from. You can use the chat panel to do that. And also, if you have any questions for either myself or Ty during the session, feel free to send those through. We're also going to be recording the session and we'll send out the slides as well. But yeah, I'm delighted to welcome Ty Hendrickson along. She's one of the founders of the Sales Seed, and they help accounting firms grow by improving their culture, client service, and business development. Is that fair to say, Ty?
That's safe to say. A little bit of
Very
everything.
good. But yeah, before that, she was a CPA with over 15 years of experience. So she stood in the same shoes as you, which means you probably listen to her a little bit more than you will me. And she's built also some sales training programs for Walters Kluwer and Bloomberg B&A. Now, the original title of this session was Elevator Pitch, but because of social distancing, we can't do anything related to confined spaces like an elevator. Only joking, but obviously we felt that that topic might not be ideal at the moment where people are not necessarily focused as much on sales, even though it can be a really good time to sell. And I think some firms have done a lot of sales in this period. So we felt like we'd change to this topic, opportunity in crisis, about building firm loyalty, but how that actually helps with growth, right, Ty?
Yeah, there's a lot that we can talk about in this spectrum. If you're not getting new business right now, there's lots of ways to improve growth and improve profitability. So that's where we're going to focus.
Cool. Um, well, that is probably a good point to jump over. I will give control to you, Ty, and you can bring up your presentation and we'll get into today's session.
All right, perfect.
I will
Since
just
I'm
switch that
super technical, let me make sure I got mine
over.
going right.
All good.
All right. So let me get my screen pulled up. And hopefully we can get this kicked off. Probably gonna have to change sides. It always does that. All right, so we're ready to go. So thank you, Matt. Again, I'm Ty Hendrickson. I am based in Kentucky, so I'm gonna sound a little bit different than Matt as we go through this. But hopefully everyone can understand and follow through. I've been told that I'm the fastest slow talker in the South. So interesting little background there. But as he said, I am also a CPA, not formerly a CPA, still am, still keep up with the CPE, still hold on to it. I worked too hard to pass that test that I'm never going to let that go as long as I can help it. But as he said, I did spend the last 14 years in sales training, and sales management with Walters Kluwer and with Bloomberg B&A. And one of the things that I realized during my time there was that this is such an underserved section of the accounting sector. And it's really what I'm passionate about is helping accountants understand how to develop their business, how to grow, whether that's adding advisory and consulting services onto new clients, or whether that is going out and putting an actual framework around business development and doing it efficiently, and just making sure that growth is easy. So we do everything on the non-technical side of the accounting skills. So everything from leadership, business development, as you mentioned, firm culture. So we'll talk about all of that as we go through this. And, you know, it's interesting how this topic came up. As Matt said, we changed topics, right? And this was something that kind of developed itself and was unfortunately perfectly timed with everything that's going on in the world right now. You know, I think a lot of the focus recently has been on client service and how to better serve your clients so that you can build better relationships and that you can cross-sell, I mean, I hate to use that word, but cross-sell your clients. Well, I was reading the book, the Loyalty Effect, and if you haven't read it, I do have it right here. It's a Harvard Business School book, and it's just a really awesome read where it gives you insight into how loyalty impacts companies, and it just really got the wheels turning with me in terms of how accounting firms can grow outside of just finding new business. I mean, that's got to be part of your strategy, but there's so many ways you can look within. So we think about everything that's happened, it all changed a couple months ago. Everything changed with the pandemic, and everything changed with how not just you, but also your clients are approaching business and expenses and everything that's going on. So with our clients, we talk a lot about growth strategies, and I heard so much at the beginning of the pandemic. I just don't feel right selling right now. I don't feel right going out and finding new clients. It just doesn't seem right, but I know we have to grow. So what options do we have? And this is really where that loyalty factor comes in, because even without finding new business, if you improve your loyalty strategy and you improve your loyalty across different areas of your accounting firm, it adds so much productivity and efficiency into your processes that even without adding new business right now, you can still improve your profitability. So how's this work? Well, it was interesting because as I'm reading this, I start to look at the other side of it and looking at the impact of turnover, right? And so this was all throughout the book, but I did a little research making sure it was still in line with the accounting practice, the accounting industry, and it is. Most accounting firms have anywhere from a 15 to 25% turnover rate for employees year over year, and most firms, 30% is a pretty high end, but 10 to 20% of the firm's clients leave for one reason or another. And so if you think about this, anywhere from 20 to 50% of a firm's assets, and I say it because your employees and your clients are assets of the company, are walking out the door each year. And how is anyone expected to grow a profitable business if you're losing 20 to 50% of your assets? You have to replace those employees and those clients just to get back to zero. And I think that's why so many people struggle with business development, because it's hard to really get ahead without being really efficient and knowing what you're doing. So adding in the fact that you're having to replace clients that leave and replace productivity of employees that have been there, it's really a tough thought to think about in terms of how turnover impacts your business. And I hate to use the term human assets, right? That doesn't sound right, but we want to think about the capital that you have in your firm just a little different in order to start thinking about profitability. And I love this one example where they talk about a car dealership, right? And so let's say that this car dealership realizes that a stereo system or a couple of them have gone missing. What's the store manager going to do? They're probably going to turn that place upside down looking for the stereo, right? It's something they can sell. It's gone missing. They've got to find out where it went. We've got to figure out where the stereo is. But in that same regard, if one of their best customers decides to leave without buying a car or not return for repeat business, even if it's one of their best customers, they say, well, there'll be another one. It's not the best way to think about it, right? Because if you think about the cost of that stereo and the profit that stereo is going to bring that dealership, it's not near as much as the lifetime value of their best customer that just walked out the door. But a lot of times we think about our employees and our clients, as much as we want them to stay, as much as we want to keep them, we just assume that, they're replaceable and we'll find somebody else and we'll be able to fix that. But if you look at it from the other perspective and figuring out ways to keep your best employees and to keep your clients and to build on what you have and reduce that turnover, you're going to see an increase in profitability in terms of what you have and what's coming in the door. So we talk about this now because so many people are saying, you know, I don't feel comfortable going out and calling someone that I don't know and trying to bring them in as a client. It's fine if you don't feel that way, but there's still strategies that we can look at to be able to change what we're doing and to reevaluate our processes and procedures to increase that profitability. So if we think of loyalty as a growth strategy, there's really three pieces that impact this strategy. You've got your firm culture, you've got your employee assets, and you've got your client service. Most firms and most people that we talk to understand the importance of these, and they understand the importance of building a solid firm culture. They understand the importance of training their employees and finding and retaining the best employees. And they understand the importance of providing good client service. But what they don't necessarily understand is how interconnected these are. If you do all three of these very, very well, then that loyalty is going to turn into a growth strategy. Because if you think about it this way, if you have an awesome firm culture, if you've built this amazing firm culture, you're going to attract the best employees. And if you've got the best employees and you're investing in them, then they're going to become extremely loyal to your firm, which means that they're happy with their job and they love what they do, which means they're servicing your clients better. And so if they're servicing the clients better, the clients become loyal. And you start building relationships with these clients, and they start coming back and they start referring people. And the next thing you know, that translates into this amazing firm culture because you've got clients that love the firm, and it turns into a big circle. And so if you are investing and you're working on all three of these pieces, knowing how they work together, that's really when it turns into a growth strategy, not just one at a time. So let's talk about each one of these individually, just to dig deep into these. So loyalty is, or firm culture is one of, I think, the hardest ones to understand, because most people think of firm culture as, you know, how happy their employees are, and we'll talk about it later, but ping pong tables and happy hours, and that's not firm culture. You know, a firm culture is built on intentional strategies from leadership, and firm culture is really the result of your employees buying into your vision for the firm as their own. They have to buy into it, and they have to feel like what they're doing is part of a bigger picture and part of moving the firm forward. And that's really when you develop that amazing firm culture. And I love going through some outside examples of this, right? So we can understand really what this means, even outside of our accounting firms. And I think one of the best examples of culture in an organization is in Southwest. And if you've ever flown anything, you know that the airlines are not really known for their customer service, but Southwest is a little different. If you've ever flown them, you might have seen this. You know, usually everyone that works for Southwest seems to be just a little more chipper, maybe likes their job just a little bit more. And it's, you know, you don't necessarily know why, but you tend to have a better experience with the people because they're happier on Southwest. And the reason for this is Southwest has done a great job of empowering their employees. They tell all of their employees that they do whatever they need to within their power and within their means. They empower them to go above and beyond to make sure that the customer has an exceptional experience, right? And so the employees of Southwest have really bought into this, and they really feel like as they're doing their job, it's creating a greater airline and creating a greater experience. And they do go above and beyond. And so Southwest does have a little different feel to it when you fly, and that's based on the culture that their leadership has instilled in those employees. And client service. So this one is, it's said day in and day out that, you know, you've got to provide good client service. Even now, you know, in the pandemic, and there's, everyone says, oh, you've got to provide better service now. You've got to provide better service. Well, you always should provide good client service. But what differentiates firms that are providing exceptional client service are ones that really have a vested interest in their clients, the ones that really get involved with what their clients are doing and figure out ways to help them. And so client service is more than just acting on what you're engaged to do. It's more than just completing whatever you've told them you're going to do. It's about going above and beyond and exceeding expectations and surprising them with value that they probably didn't even expect. That's where exceptional client service comes in. And Leo Burnett is an advertising agency. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of them, but they're an advertising agency and they take client service to a whole new level. The majority of their account managers or their senior account managers are only assigned to one client. So they go as far as to giving one client per person so that they can learn the ins and outs of their clients. They know everything that makes them tick, and they're able to really get involved in the plan for that client. And what's interesting is that Leo Burnett, actually, they pay their people more, which they're working with one client and paying them more. It's kind of unheard of to think about, but because they're only working with one client, because they know their clients inside and out, they have a productivity rate that's 10 to 15% higher than any other of their competitors. So even though they are working with just one client, they're so much more productive because they know them inside and out. And on top of that, they're delivering such good client service that they have a 98% retention rate year over year. So in order for them to grow, they're really only going out and having to replace that 2% that goes away because they have such strong loyalty from their clients and they continue to grow that way. Now, another one, the last one is your employee assets. And this is one of the most overlooked areas. And a lot of people say, oh, no, we send our people to training. We do a lot of training and we send them to conferences. Not this year, but other years, we definitely invest in our employees, but it's a different investment now. The best employees that are out there really want more personalized attention, and they want that investment earlier on. And it's something we'll talk about in just a little bit, but the way firms have traditionally invested in their employees and brought them up into leadership roles does not attract the top talent right now. So it's a little different as you think about this. And one of the great examples of this is State Farm. And hopefully you guys are familiar with this insurance agency. They have more than 20% of the market share. They're a big name in insurance. But what's interesting with them is that they immediately off the bat pay their new agents more than any of their competitors. They spend a lot of time investing in the employee, investing in culture, investing in leadership, investing in mentor programs, investing in all the different ways to make sure that their employees or their agents have everything they need to do their job. And because they invest in them so early on, they actually have a 40% higher productivity than any of their competitors. And in addition to that, their employees stay with State Farm twice as long as any competitor. So if you think about, even though they are paying them more, they're staying longer. So that productivity is so much better, that 40% productivity. And they're providing such good client service that they have a 95 to 97% retention rate. So if you think about it and you start looking inward and you start thinking about your employees and your clients and your culture and all the things that you already have that can be improved, that's a great place to start looking at profitability. And most people don't do it because we just don't have time, right? Every year everybody's busy and there's work to do and everything's going on, but it's the perfect time to take a step back and evaluate this, because if you find yourself in State Farm's book, what would you do with a 40% increase in productivity and a 95% retention rate? I mean, that would make a huge difference in your practice year over year if you could get yourself to that point where everyone is working like a well-oiled machine and you've increased that loyalty from your clients and your employees. So, how do we fit all these pieces together? How are you going to do this in your firm? We'll take these one by one with a couple of suggestions here. So, starting with clients, because I think this one is probably the most common, and what everybody's used to is understanding client service. But you have to figure out what your strategy is, and you have to figure out what your expectations are on delivering client service. I work with so many firms that say, come train us on how to deliver client service, and they haven't given thought to what that means to their firm. And if you haven't thought through that, it's hard for anyone else that works with you to also embrace this, because you've got other people working on your clients, and you have to make sure that they're going to provide the same level of service you are. So you can't just assume everyone has the same definition. So you really have to start with what makes good client service for your firm and what your expectations are. And I love this quote by Quicken founder Scott Cook. He says, if you can't please your current customers, then you don't deserve any new ones. And it's a hard one to let sink in, but the flip side to this is if you have amazing clients that absolutely love you, they're going to be your best salespeople. They're going to be the ones out there talking about how amazing you are and how everyone else should be working with you as well. So starting by focusing on your clients is a really great place to start. So what makes good client service? Well, first and foremost, it all starts with value. You have to be delivering value to your clients that is above and beyond what they expect, truthfully. So it's not really an option anymore to just go out and find a bunch of tax clients or a bunch of bookkeeping clients and build a practice based on quantity. If you're doing that, then all of your clients are going to be driven by price, right? And if there's no perception of value out there, then your clients are just going to look at the number and the price that you're charging them, and they're going to look for somebody else to do it different and cheaper. So first and foremost, you have to provide value. You have to make sure that your clients understand why they're paying the fee they're paying, because you've delivered so much value and information to them that they feel like they couldn't work without you, right? And I'll be honest, right now in the pandemic, everyone's looking for ways to cut costs. So if your clients don't have that perceived value, they're going to come to you and ask you to do it cheaper, or they're going to go find someone else without asking you first. So I would highly suggest everyone taking a look at their value and what they feel like they're giving to their clients. And the best way to do this, to me, is have a genuine interest. And this is so important. If you're looking to build a relationship with your client and you're looking to move away from just transactional work and really build up this value, you have to take a genuine interest. I mean, you have to sit down with your client. You have to ask questions. You have to find out what keeps them up at night. You have to find out what their goals are. You have to find out what their challenges are, because the only way you're going to provide value is to solve a problem that they have or help them achieve a goal. And the only way you can uncover that is with genuine interest. And I've seen so many posts on social media recently that are like, oh, it's the perfect time to reach out to all your clients. Send them all this email or do this other mass outreach campaign. And to me, they know better than that. Your clients know better than that. So if you feel like I'm doing outreach, I'm sending them emails, I'm doing all this stuff, if you're doing the same thing for everybody, they'll know. So you've got to take a genuine interest in your clients. In addition to that, it's all about communication and execution. If you're providing value and you have a genuine interest in your clients, how are you executing on that strategy? How are you communicating with your clients? Client communication really shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all strategy. I've got clients that, want to meet face to face. It's not possible right now, but they want to meet face to face. They want to have a meeting every quarter, and they want to go through everything. I've got some that are on a need to know basis, right? I know you guys can relate to that. You have clients that just say, just tell me what I need to know, when I need to know it. Don't bother me, any other time. Are they not comfortable with technology? Do they want to have a phone call because they're super busy and they don't have time to sit down and have a meeting? Would they prefer an email? One of the things that you really have to figure out in order to deliver exceptional client service is what that means to your client, what their communication style is, and what their expectations are of you, and go above and beyond in that way. And then lastly is appreciation. So with good client service, this is really the human nature side of it. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's not necessary. They're my clients. They don't want a birthday card. And I totally get that. Birthday cards are overrated, but that's not really a genuine interest type thing. But when you do remember something that they've done, if you do see an article that triggers a conversation you just had with them, send it to them. If you find out that someone just got a promotion, find a way to send them a card, acknowledge it, send them an email. Any life event, let them know that you're thinking about them and that they're not just a client to you. In addition to that, a lot of that's with outreach as well. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have exceptional client service as it stands, but ways to improve this, thinking a little bit outside of the box here. The first thing that you really should look at is limiting the number of clients or accounts that everyone works with individually. You don't have to go as far as the Leo Burnett idea of giving one person, one client, but if you're the point of contact for all of your clients, can you really give them the type of service that you need to? I mean, there's the 80-20 rule. 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your clients. So if you're not focused on those 20% more so than the rest of your clients, they're not going to see the value. So can you transition some of the contact from yourself to someone else so that they can, they have the opportunity to learn how to deliver client service. They're eager and ready and want to be, of service to clients, and they'll probably deliver better client service as the main point of contact than you would to some of your accounts. So think about how that might work in your firm. Create community, both internal and external. And this is big for a lot of firms in that they have different people that do different things and they don't communicate about it. So if you don't encourage that community and you don't encourage those best practice sharing, you're going to miss out on tidbits that give you ways to service your clients better. If you're talking about what you're doing for clients, if you're talking about some best practices that have come up, if you're talking about some new ideas that others are doing for the clients, you're going to find more ways to provide good client service. The same thing is externally. A lot of firms join associations. A lot of people join, these organizations to get best practices and get insight. Can you create that type of environment for your clients? Do you have a lot of clients in a specialized area that, without overstepping competition, could you create a way for them to build community and share best practices that they don't get from another firm? It could be a value driver and differentiator. Become proactive with your outreach. If you are not actively reaching out and setting appointments with your clients to have conversations, to promote that genuine interest and find out what's going on with them, other than when you have a deliverable like financial statements or a tax return, then you're missing out on opportunities. That proactive outreach lets them know that you're thinking about them. It brings them in, to have those conversations about what's going on and give you the opportunity to uncover new ways to provide service to those clients. And then lastly is establish processes to show appreciation. So this one is a little different in that, everyone finds out things about their clients. And I hate to say, you find out that someone passed and they have to go to a funeral. Do you want to send flowers? You get busy and you forget. Or you find out that they're having a baby and you want to send a gift, but you get busy and you forget. It's just the nature of the beast in terms of what accountants do. They're busy a lot of the time. And so if you don't have a specific process in your firm to show clients appreciation, then it's just going to fall by the wayside. So something as simple as saying this person's in charge of it. As soon as you hear this, send a note to this person and they'll do it. It takes the pressure off of each individual and it allows you to do this just a little bit easier. And I don't have the chat box up, so I just want to make sure that we don't have any questions as we go through this.
Yeah, Ty, I do. So none at the moment, but if you have any questions for Ty, you can use the chat or the Q&A, and I will either interject and ask as we go, or we'll do them at the end. So we're going to make time for a Q&A, but yeah, I'll keep an eye on that for you, Ty.
Okay, good. I appreciate it. I just realized as I'm looking, I'm like, that box has gone away, and I don't want to miss anything. So I appreciate it. Okay.
All good.
All right. So moving on to your employee investment. This is a little harder because it's not really a traditional investment section of the business, right? We mentioned, yes, you provide training. Yes, you send people to conferences. Yes, you do these special things for your client, for your employees, but the top talent right now wants more than that. And it seems, and I hope it doesn't seem selfish, to bring up, but one of the biggest challenges that accounting firms have right now, and it was all over every publication last year, is recruiting and retaining the best talent. People are having trouble getting the best people in their firm, and it's because those people, that top talent, wants to be challenged and wants an investment. And so where these top talent individuals are looking are for people that are going to invest personally in their future, that are interested in what their goals are and how to get them there. And so, again, I love this quote here that says, the CFO says, what happens if we invest in developing our people and they leave us? Because that is 9 times out of 10 what most accountants say is, I don't want to invest in someone until, for them to just leave us. But the CEO's response is, well, what happens if we don't and they stay? And that's just as big, if not more of a problem, if you have people that are not doing what you need and want them to do, which could have been prevented with an investment. So this one is kind of that chicken and egg scenario, right? What comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg? Because a lot of firms say that they want to invest in their employees, but they want their employees to prove their loyalty first, right? They don't want to spend all this time and money and everything else investing in getting their employees to be the best version of themselves and to be these amazing employees if they're just going to take that and leave. So they want them to prove their loyalty first, maybe move up, be in a position to take on a leadership role. It's not something that's done early on, but as I mentioned earlier with the best employees, they want to come in and feel that loyalty and investment off the bat. That's what develops their loyalty. If you think about a lot of the interviews that you've had with any new hires recently, you always ask, where do you want to be in 5 years, right? Most people ask, where do you want to be in 5 years? And talk to people about what their goals are. And so the employee that's being hired, it feels like if we're talking about these goals and we're talking about what we're going to do and what my opportunities are there, you sell people on the opportunity at your firm. And they get there, and if they don't feel like that opportunity is there, and they don't feel like you're investing in them, and everything that they were promised in the interview isn't necessarily coming through, they're quicker to start thinking, well, this isn't what I thought it was, right? This isn't, this is a different firm than I thought it was. And their loyalty never, they never develop that loyalty, right? So what people crave now, and what these employees want, is they want personalized investments. They want to know that if you're hiring them, that you have a plan for them, right? And that you have a way to help them grow, and you have a way to help them achieve their goals. And that's done through personalized conversations, right? You can't just have this career path and assume that everybody's good and then they leave, because that's one of the biggest reasons why we hear people leave, is they say, well, I didn't know what the opportunity was, and I didn't feel like there was any opportunity for me to grow or anything else that I could do there, because there were no higher positions available and no one was leaving. And the firm owner half the time is like, well, I had this person, I had a plan for this person for the next 5 to 10 years, and they get upset that they left. And all of this is a miscommunication in terms of the employee and the firm owner and the investment in the plan that they have for them going forward. So what are some ways to improve your employee investment, to improve what you're doing with your employees in order to build their loyalty? So first and foremost, have a clear and communicated career path, right? If you don't have this documented, if you don't have this in a way that you can communicate it with any of your employees, this is going to be a huge stumbling block for a lot of people. Because if someone's coming in and they're one of those high achievers, and they're excited, and they've joined your firm because they see an opportunity to become a leader there, and eventually become a partner or move into a bigger role there, if you don't have it detailed of what they need to do to achieve each level to get to that point, there's going to be that communication gap, and that's usually when people end up leaving, right? And it's not enough to have that, but you also have to communicate it, right? And it's more than just having that conversation once a year to review and saying, okay, well, here's what you need to do to get to the next level. Go through the entire year. They think they've done a great job. You come to the review and you're like, you're really far off from what I expected. It doesn't mesh well. So you have to make sure that communication stays open throughout the year as you go through this process. You have to have growth opportunities at all levels. You can't wait until someone's moving into a partner role or a leadership role in order to give them opportunities. Everyone wants to be challenged. Everyone wants an opportunity to, we talked about firm culture, get involved, give back, and feel like a part of a bigger picture. So what can you do for each level? Can you have your staff get involved in a local organization as, the face of your firm? Can you're buying a little community goodwill, and they're also getting the opportunity to be the face and to get out there as a representative of the firm. Can you give someone that maybe isn't in a manager role yet the opportunity to mentor somebody, right? Instead, give them a little taste of leadership without giving them any leadership responsibilities, just giving them the option to help others and see if it's something they enjoy, and the opportunity to give back basically to the firm and help onboard, new hires quicker. And as you go throughout this, a lot of the more, there's a lot more opportunities at the higher levels, but think about what you can do to give people challenges at each level, to give them a way to step outside their comfort zone and try something new and really, prove themselves within your firm. You also have to focus on personalized management and goals, and mention this in terms of the one-on-one conversations, but it's super important to find out what these new hires and top talent and anybody else you're bringing in, whether it's a new manager that you got from another firm or whether it's, it doesn't matter who it is, spending time and understanding what their goals are and how you can support them and making sure that those align with your firm, right? Because if they have these big dreams and big goals and these aspirations that don't align with your firm, that may be a problem. But it's important to, invest in the conversations with them, figure out how you can support them, make sure it aligns with the firm, and help guide them through the process more so than just having that one-off conversation each year at the review time. And then lastly, the ability to pursue passion. This is such a big one with those high achievers. They've got things they enjoy doing. And if that's something that aligns with your firm's vision and values, giving them the ability to pursue that passion could open up a new revenue stream for you. And if it's something that they love doing and that they want to do, it's something that they're going to do well, and it's going to be an opportunity of growth for your firm as well. All right. Finally is firm culture. This is the third area where loyalty builds, and this comes completely from leadership and overall tone in the firm. This is how well you communicate your vision and values and how well you get people bought in, right? So many people think that firm culture is, having these ping pong tables in the office or having happy hours or basically enabling people to have fun. And while that is important to morale is very different than firm culture. It's a part of it. You've got to have high morale in order to have a strong firm culture. But the firm culture is about being open with your employees, and it's about, getting them to buy in that your vision is their vision, and what they're doing day to day is moving the firm forward, and that they play a part in the overall success of the firm, and they know what part they play. And that's really one of the most important things about firm culture is getting the employees invested the same way that you are, right? So that's the big deal with firm culture. So how can we improve this? First and foremost, open communication around the vision and the big picture. I highly recommend having different types of town halls or communication with your staff so that they understand what your vision is, right? These town halls aren't about just showing up and telling them the state of the firm. It's about getting people engaged, and it's about celebrating people that have done something that moved the culture forward, something that aligned with the vision. Maybe there's an award that you give out monthly for those that, really do an exceptional job with client service or with your vision. But it's about getting people involved and engaged and making them feel like they're in it with you. And a lot of that's done through those town hall meetings. Encourage teamwork and input. So one of the biggest key indicators of good firm culture is the way that the firm requests feedback and accepts input. Because if you have it open to where people can provide that feedback and they know who to talk to and they feel comfortable having those conversations, that is a huge indicator of a good firm culture. And outside of that, encouraging people to work together. So not just coming in and doing their work and getting as many billable hours as they possibly can, but encourage them to work together and share best practices and learn from each other and build on expertise. Those relationships are a big part of firm culture as well. Allow flexibility and demonstrate trust. So this is a hot topic right now with all of the remote work, right? You have to be more flexible now with remote work. People are at home. But the problem is I hear so many people say, well, how do I know such and such is working? Or the productivity is going to be down because they're not set up right at home and nobody can do what they can in the office. And truth be told, I get so much more done at home than I do in the office. I've been doing it for 15 years. And I'm so much worse in the office. But the problem is there's almost this immediate distrust when people can't see their employees in the office. So a lot of this is about setting expectations, letting people know what you expect. Do you expect them to be working certain hours of the day, or do you expect them to just hit a certain amount of hours and it doesn't matter when? Whatever you decide needs to be communicated, and then you have to trust your employees until they give you a reason not to. And that's a big part of firm culture as well. And then finally, celebrate wins of all shapes and sizes. I mean, this is so big. You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, accountants, don't want to be doted on or made a big deal out of what they're doing or that type of stuff. But, if you have people that are doing special client service, or they're getting out in the community and presenting your firm well, or something in an organization, or just they're doing something that moves your firm's vision and values along, you need to celebrate that. Doesn't matter how big, doesn't matter how small, but you want to make sure that you acknowledge the fact that they're helping the firm, and that they're a part of it, and what they're doing impacts, the big picture. So celebrating those wins is a big one as well. All right. So what does it all mean when you bring this together? If you want to use loyalty as a growth strategy, you have to do it all together. You can't just focus on your culture, your employees, your service. It has to be done all together. So, when this is the time where, everything's uncertain, you're not really sure what next week holds, if you're like me, you can look within, and there's ways to increase profitability within your firm by looking at these three areas, taking a real, true and honest self-assessment, and figuring out what you can do to improve each of these sections so that it increases your productivity, it increases your employee retention, it increases your client retention, it attracts the best people and the best clients, and bottom line, increases that profitability that you're looking for. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and wrap it up, and we can open it up to questions. This is my information on the screen. I'm sure Matt has it to send out and whatnot, but I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Matt and open it up to questions.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll keep that on screen there rather than switching back to me. And thanks very much for that. Was awesome. So if you've got any questions for Ty, you can use the Q&A panel or the chat is fine, and I will ask her. Couple of questions I had, Ty, to get things going. We follow a thing called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, which I don't know if you've heard of that, but they recommend that someone at, like, say, a senior level take 4 hours training a month, a manager maybe like 2 hours a month, and a junior about 1 hour a month. Is that the kind of similar training investment in staff that you'd be looking at?
So here's the thing is I am so much more in on the personalized growth plan, right? So if you say it should be so many hours a month, I don't necessarily follow that. It depends on what people need and what those goals are and how much work they're doing, because one of the ways that people learn is getting more challenges, right? So I don't know that I would necessarily say put them in 4 hours of training. I'd say look at what they need, and if you feel like they're on the verge and they've got this great expertise and they've got this value, maybe put them in a project that challenges them, outside of their normal billable hours, or put them in a different scenario where they have the ability to learn, maybe not just through training, but I think everybody at every level needs challenges every month, or they're not going to succeed. But I do think it falls on the individual. Some people may need more soft skills training. I mean, gosh, I've worked with some new staff where it's like, okay, we got to go back to the basics. We got to work on a little business etiquette here. We got to do some soft skill training. Whereas someone at the same level may need to get involved in a higher level project to learn and to be challenged. So I don't know that I follow necessarily the specific hours, but I think figuring out what's going to get that person to the next level is what I would recommend. And I do recommend, like you say, take it monthly and have those conversations with individuals monthly to see where they are and do that check-in and see where they're, what they want, what they need, and what you can do to help them achieve those goals type of thing.
Yeah, cool. Another question, well, I often ask firms, do all your clients know about all the different ways you can help them? And when I ask that in webinars and when I'm speaking, public speaking, almost no one puts their hands up, right? And I think you were alluding to that as the growth within the existing clients. What's a good way, if people are reaching out to their existing clients, what's a good way they can ask that question, how can I help you more? Is it as simple as saying that? Because I know some firms struggle with that. Oh, I don't think, that if they're scared of that cross-selling, upselling thing that you mentioned at the start.
Well, so I think it's a two-part question on this. Is one, I think you have to start by educating everybody in your firm on everything you can do, right? It has to be from the ground up and beyond what those services are, what some of the triggers might be, right? So if it's something as simple as saying, like, if a staff person is starting a tax return and somebody brings them a mess of information and they have to do a lot of bookkeeping, then they should know that trigger. I should talk to them about bringing some bookkeeping services in, right? And so to me, it's part of educating the firm on what those services are and what triggers to look for. And then when you sit down with the client, that's where that proactive outreach comes in. Is I would more so start with the fact of, tell me how your business is going. Tell me what your goals are for the next year. What's been your biggest challenge this year? And it's almost, then you have to turn into an attorney, which I know none of us want to be. We're all accountants, but you have to start leading them truthfully, because my husband hates this, that, basically I can make him do anything I want him to do because I lead him to it being his idea, right? And so that's the thing with your clients. They're not going to know how you can help them, right? They're not going to know, even if you tell them 742 ways that you could provide service to them, they're not going to know what makes the biggest impact. So by starting the conversation and getting them to talk about where their business is now, where they want it to be, what those goals are, and what the challenges they're facing, and just even talking about what's your day-to-day look like? And then if they start going into things that they shouldn't be doing, that you could take off their plate, you're really looking for those triggers just in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that we've been adopting in BizInc over the last year or so is it's a technique called selling through curiosity, which is very much not trying to close the conversation, keeping it, they talk about at the 10,000 foot level.
Yep.
And I think there's that temptation to think, I'm selling here, where really it's information gathering, and the client will tell you all of the stuff they need. And one thing they talk about, that if you try and sell them something, they might believe you, they might not. If they tell you that they want it, they're going to believe it. That's the truth then, right? Because they told you they want it. So yeah, yep. Then you don't even have to do any selling. Well,
and here's the thing is I'm a firm believer that mindset is the biggest block of accountants in selling. And it's because you hear the word selling and it's just so emotional, but change the word selling to helping. And then it's a completely different mindset. You are just trying to help them. And I had someone tell me the other day, they're like, oh, I feel awful sending someone a bill for $1,000 for consulting on PPP on these loans. And I go, okay, I get it. Like it's tough to ask someone to pay you $1,000 right now, but could they have done it on their own? And it's like, no. Is this the difference in their business succeeding or failing? And said probably would have failed. I said, so you're telling me that you're asking them to pay $1,000 so they didn't have to close their dream forever. I go, you were helping them. You were helping them with your expertise and making sure that they are successful. That's worth more than $1,000. And if you switch that mindset from I'm selling them something to I am helping them, it's a much different process.
Yeah, for sure. Have you got any ideas on celebrating wins? One thing we do at BizInc, we use Slack. So probably a lot more people are familiar with that since the
Yeah.
working from home thing. But what we do is that every time a sale happens in our business, a gift pops up in our Slack. It's like we sell in different countries, so there's all these
Yeah.
silly gifts that we do, and it's related to the country we've sold it. So I wake up today, look in our Slack, and we sold a site in the UK overnight. Cool. So everyone sees that in the company, you know, cheers, whatever. And we also celebrate jobs done. So for us, it's websites launched. But I was thinking you could do something similar, you know, obviously with sales in an accounting firm, or, you know, a job completion, and it could trigger something off and everyone sees that. And I think that big, people love that in our firm, our company. Is there any tips you could give people around celebrating success like that?
Yeah, and I think I think it comes back to figuring out what those values are, right? Like your vision about you guys are, it's launching, it's selling other countries, it's expanding, and you know, if part of a lot of firms we work with, one of their biggest things right now is client service, and so they do a lot of celebrating for client service wins, and we're running a program right now with one firm where, you know, each month they have to submit their what the client service they're most proud of. And then the managing partner picks one, and they get like a $25 dinner gift card once a month to the person. And, you know, they make a big deal out of what they did for the client and the scenario and how they went above and beyond. And then, you know, drum roll to announce who it is. So, you know, there's so many ways that I think accountants sometimes get overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, if I have to post something in Slack every time somebody does something, I can't do that, right? And so I would suggest starting with something monthly, getting in the habit of that, and then figuring out other things that pop up. Because as you see that, you're like, oh man, I wish I could have recognized this person for what they did, you know, this week, or this person for what they did that week, or oh my gosh, this person caught this mistake and saved the client, you know, $50,000 type of thing. You know, then you can start celebrating them on more of a regular basis, and then it goes to weekly, and then it goes to as it happens. And I just think, you know, start with some big award monthly, and then move down to where you start celebrating more as you go through the process.
Very cool. Well, let's wrap things up as we're just coming
Yep.
up to the hour. So you can see Ty's details on screen. As I mentioned at the start of the webinar, we will send out the recording and also include those details. So if you'd like to find out more about how you can develop some of these programs that Ty's been talking about, you'll be able to get in touch. So that just leaves me to say thank you to you, Ty, for coming along. That was an awesome presentation. I've made a lot of notes that I'm going to take back to the Bizzing team as well. And thanks to everyone for coming along today. I hope you've enjoyed that and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Matt. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.